Hi, it's Ning for the Run Testers, and this is our review of the Puma Magnify Nitro. Start as ever with some key stats and kind of design of the shoe. It comes to the price. If you're getting the SP, which is this kind of rainbow colorway shoe, it's £120 in the UK or $140 in the US. The SP version has Puma's kind of cool adapt mesh designed to make it a little bit less hot, which might be useful given the amount of padding here. There are now other colors that aren't SP, which are £10 cheaper in the UK. They're £110. This is a fantastic color. I'd be paying £10 more for it, but I probably wouldn't be worrying too much about the tech differences between the two uppers. You can see it's got a big old stack. It's 38mm at the heel and 29mm at the forefoot, giving it a 9mm drop, and it's a reasonably hefty shoe. This is my UK size 9. It weighs 312 grams, which is 11 ounces. The Magnify Nitro is the big, plush, maximally cushioned daily trainer in Puma's new lineup. It comes in above the Velocity Nitro as a more cushioned option, a bit heavier as well. The Velocity Nitro was kind of around 33.5mm heel height on the stack there, and it was kind of 280 grams odd in my size. So this is really built for more comfort than the Velocity Nitro, and it's got more foam in the midsole and also a lot more padding on the upper. So you can see around the heel and the tongue there that it's a huge amount of spongy padding there to really give a nice plush feel on top of the foot. Otherwise it's got like a mono mesh upper, reasonably standard stuff. But yeah, really, certainly around the collar and heel and tongue, you're getting a lot of padding here that really shows off this shoe as a comfortable option when you step into it. In the midsole, you've obviously got Puma's nitrogen-infused foam there on the top, big old slab of it. And then there's another layer of a firmer foam called Pro Foam Light, which is a compression molded EVA underneath. There's a bit more of it at the heel there. So you've basically got a big high stack, but there's a reasonable amount of stability there and a reasonable amount of softness on top from the nitro infused foam. Then on the outsole, you've got another common feature across the Puma range, which is the Puma Grip rubber, which is really fantastic. There's a really thick layer on this shoe, which is probably why it's a bit heavier, but again, you're going to get really good, reliable grip in kind of pretty much all conditions on the road in this shoe.
So the fit is definitely a highlight for me on the Magnify Nitro. It's just a very comfortable shoe to run in. Outside of running, I've just been using it to kind of walk around as well, and I found it really nice to kind of just have for that as well. It's really kind of down to the fact you've got kind of very generous padding on the tongue, around this kind of heel collar here as well. The laces are nice and comfortable and kind of sit quite nicely on the top of the foot without kind of feeling too tight. You've got kind of decent amount of space here, I think, in the toe box. Doesn't feel over generous. For me, I never did kind of feel over generous. And then it kind of narrows in here at the midfoot to kind of still get you that nice kind of locked down fit. And then you've kind of got this big heel here, this kind of hardened kind of heel to kind of give you a bit more in terms of control and stability, which I think works really nice. Now, I do think I'd like the shoe to be a little bit lighter. I don't think it was massively kind of, a really clumpy shoe to run in, but definitely I would appreciate something a little bit lighter here. And I definitely think there are cushion shoes that feel a little bit lighter to run in. But overall, a really comfortable shoe to run in, also to kind of, outside of running, just to walk with as well. The colorway is absolutely my favorite of the shoes I've run in this year, and it's probably the reason why I kind of wear them outside of running as well. So overall, for me, the fit and comfort has been really strong for me on the Magnify Nitro.
For me, the Magnify Nitro fit true to size. I'd say I had slightly more room at the front than I get in the Velocity Nitro, and other shoes in the kind of Nitro range maybe fit a little bit more closely at the top front of your toes. Maybe slightly more room at the front there, but in general, it's good, nice, comfortable fit around the midfoot, and obviously there's all this padding at the back, and that provides a very secure and comfortable hold. No chance of heel rubbing with this amount of padding at the back here, different to some of the shoes in Puma's range. We'll say that I don't tend to struggle with kind of hot uppers, and I have used this shoe mostly in like kind of the autumn, maybe a bit of late summer, but no really hot conditions. I didn't have any problems with it being too warm, is what I'm saying, but some people might if you're using it in really hot conditions just because there is so much material on the tongue and collar. I've done 85 kilometers of running in the Magnify Nitro, and I used it kind of towards the end of a marathon training block. Did it for kind of a lot of easy runs, easy to steady runs. I didn't really go for anything too express in it. This is built more as a kind of comfortable daily trainer, so that's really what I used it for. But I did take it up to some decent paces at the end of those kind of easy to steady hour or 10-mile runs. I'd be knocking along around kind of 340k, just under 6-minute miling, that kind of thing. And it can kind of handle that. It will handle your base mileage for sure. It's got a nice feel to it, with that nitro foam underfoot and this kind of slightly firmer, more stable stuff at the bottom here, which creates it's not a lively ride, but it's definitely comfortable, it's definitely cushioned, and if you do step up the pace a little bit, it will give you a little bit back in terms of kind of responsiveness from the nitro foam on the top. But I'd say it is definitely geared more towards that easy cruising. So I'm a really big fan of the Velocity Nitro, and I use that for a lot of stuff, and I found it quite a versatile shoe. I don't think it's the same with the Magnify Nitro. Like, this is definitely a plusher, more cushioned option that I think is really just built for kind of easy and steady running. Velocity Nitro, I found I could do some quite fast stuff in it. I found it quite a versatile daily trainer. This does what it's meant to do within Puma's lineup. It comes in above the Velocity Nitro as an even more cushioned option for those who do want a really cushy, easy day shoe, and it does that job pretty well, I'd say. For me, I actually found the Velocity Nitro to be certainly comfortable enough to use for those kind of easy runs. I wasn't really sure I'd need this extra option, but I have enjoyed using the Magnify. It's just not necessarily a shoe I think is completely necessary for me. We'll say, as always, the outsole is fantastic. I did one run, I did actually a 10-mile run, and it was absolutely teeming down here to the point where the pavements and roads were flooded while I was running, and the shoe gripped fantastically well. And actually, even more importantly, this colourway did not get wrecked at all. Like, this shoe was completely submerged in water at times, and at the end of the run it dried out, and it looks good as new. I haven't cleaned this at all. I never clean shoes, but it looked really good. So if you are worried about buying this colour that it's going to get wrecked by a couple of trips in the rain, don't be. It actually holds up pretty well, I found, and I can still use it as a walking around shoe, which is what I mainly use it for now, to be honest.
So I had to say I was excited to run a lot more in this shoe after my first look vid, and that was really kind of driven by the enjoyment I got from the Velocity Nitro, and I was hoping I could get a little more of that excitement out of this shoe. And what I will say is, I haven't been blown away by the shoe, but I can kind of appreciate the types of runs that this shoe is designed for, and that's kind of where it works best. I'm not saying it's the best I've used at those kind of runs, which I think is kind of those longer kind of training miles, kind of not running particularly at your quickest, but I think it does a good enough job. The cushioning I don't think is massively bouncy. I kind of like a little bit of bounce, even with those kind of longer distance runs. You don't get that same feeling, or I didn't get that same feeling here with this shoe. What I did get is something that felt very kind of consistent. It felt very stable. It felt really controlled in those miles. This upper is very supportive, I think, and also very comfortable as well. So for me, it worked nicely. I wouldn't say it's the best kind of max cushion shoe that I've used. Obviously, you're getting this great Puma grip outsole, which I think has worked really well on the Puma shoes that I've run. Well, I've only run in the Velocity Nitro, and I think it's really impressed on there. And obviously, I've stuck largely to roads, dry roads. I haven't really run in wet conditions in these, but kind of dry kind of road runs, it's worked perfectly for me. I wouldn't want to go massively off-roading it, but that's kind of a real plus for me on this shoe. But yeah, I think for me, this shoe is best designed for those kind of longer distance runs, is where the pace is not a priority for you, but you just want to kind of log that mileage. And for me, it does a good enough job on that front. I don't think the cushioning is massive responsive. It kind of works nicely without being, I think, amazing. So yeah, it does well for me. It's not the best I've used, but in terms of a kind of max cushion shoe, the Magnify Nitro does a good enough job, I would say. So my verdict on the Magnify Nitro SP as a kind of max cushion shoe is that it does a good job. I wouldn't say it's the best max cushion shoe that I've used personally. I do think also you could spend less, go for something like the Puma Velocity Nitro, get something that's a little bit more versatile in terms of the paces that you can use it at. The upper maybe isn't as plush and as kind of as comfortable as something like this, but I think you can still get a comfortable upper there. And I think that works quite nicely at similar paces that you can use this for, and it feels a little bit more responsive as well. I think also looking at the Saucony Triumph 19, which I think I would prefer to use. I think the upper works really nicely. It feels a little bit lighter to me personally, and I think the cushioning as well feels a little bit bouncier and a little bit more responsive in comparison to this kind of dual layer cushioning that you're getting on the Nitro. And then also the Cloud Stratus 2 as well, it actually is definitely firmer, it's more expensive, but actually I think the upper works really nicely on there as well. It's definitely designed for those kind of longer kind of training runs as well. And actually I think it gives you a little bit more kind of pep in your step as well, based on my testing as well. Like I said, obviously more expensive than this shoe, but I think that's a nice option as well. So yeah, I think the Magnify Nitro SP is a solid enough shoe at the price. I would say there's probably better options, paying, you know, you paying a little bit more and maybe even paying a little bit less to get a little bit more of a kind of versatile shoe.
The Magnify Nitro does the kind of job it sets out to do. Like, if you looked at Puma's range before and decided that there really wasn't a cushioned enough option for you, if you were looking for a really, maximally cushioned, easy shoe, and the Velocity Nitro didn't quite cut it, there is now this option. It's got a higher stack, it's got more, and it's got more foam in there, some lovely soft stuff on the top, and loads of padding around the upper. It's a really nice, comfortable shoe with great kind of step-in comfort actually from all that padding, and it doesn't go away over long runs. It feels nice. It's a great shoe for just kind of cruising along and ticking off some runs, and there is a little bit of pace in there. I'd say within this kind of bracket of real easy day shoes, it's probably up there actually in offering a little bit more in terms of when you want to up the pace. And I do think actually if you're fairly new to running and want a comfortable shoe, but you want it to kind of do all your running, and you do have aspirations of lining up some races, particularly longer ones, actually the Magnify Nitro is quite a nice option. I kind of view it how I used to view the old Saucony Triumph shoes, in that there's a bit of pop and response there when you do want to go a bit faster. It's not going to be terrible and really sluggish on the foot, but really it is mainly designed for easy cruising. It's actually pretty similar in that vein to the new Triumph 19, which we've been testing lately. I think I probably prefer the Magnify a little bit to that shoe. I think there is a little bit more response in here, and I find it actually a little bit more comfortable as well. So I do think this Nitro foam is better than the kind of Power Run foam in the Triumph line. They're not as good as the Power Run PB foam in some other Saucony shoes, but yeah. It's a nice shoe, and it's a great easy day shoe that does have a little bit of pace in there, but like I say, it's more built for that kind of easy cruising. Say other shoes in this area, the Glycerin is maybe even more comfortable, but I think this again has a little bit more pace in it. And then there's shoes like the Nike Invincible and the Asics Nova Blast, which are squishier and kind of bouncier and a bit more kind of lively and springy, and probably a little bit quicker as well. But the Magnify is kind of a more stable, solid feel than those shoes. Some people who might not want that really big kind of cushion response style, especially on kind of maybe easy runs when you just want something a bit more, conservative, but still fun. Then the Magnify is a good option there, I'd say. Only thing for me is like I say, I would be picking the Velocity Nitro for all these kind of runs anyway, and then having the added bonus of having a slightly lighter, faster shoe for a bit more versatility, in terms of using it for other training as well. So I understand that everyone view this as cushioned enough for them, in which case the Magnify Nitro is a great option, but I do think this is a really comfy shoe, and I'd be perfectly happy doing all my easy runs in it, as I have done a lot of easy running in it already this year. So yeah, it's obviously also a shoe to look out for in sales. Puma have had some fantastic sales on their shoes this year, so you might end up getting a really good bargain on the Magnify Nitro down the line, which would obviously make it even more attractive. But yeah, at a kind of 110, it still comes in a bit cheaper than some of the shoes out there, like the Triumph and the Glycerin. So that's another thing to kind of recommend it. It's a reasonably good value shoe that I think is going to last you a lot of running. That's it, guys. That's our review of the Puma Magnify Nitro. Let us know in the comments what you think of the shoe. What's your kind of favourite cruiser, maximally cushioned shoe? We are going to test the Skechers Max Road 5. I can see it from here. It's in my house. I need to get some running in it. But yeah, there's some other great options out there. Let us know what you think. And please like, subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.